The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by DraftKings 2020 Week 5 updated rankings, DraftKings ownership, and entire injury report. If you want to play in the best contest on DraftKings, hit the description, find the link to the Pat Mayo Experience open. Still spots to enter right now. It's rake free. There's 3 max, $15 to play. Easy way to get a flatter payout structure than any other tournament. It's the best tournament on DraftKings. Highly recommend it. If you're looking for projections, tools, ownership projections, start, sit, optimizers, what you need to do is go to ftndaily.com, use code Mayo, get yourself a discount. Find everything again in the description of this video. Also, if you have a start sit question for me this week, what you see is smash the like button to the episode, and in the comment section, leave said question, whether it's start or sit, or whether it's trade, whether it's a pickup, whatever it might be, leave it in the comment section of this video, and I will answer all of the questions that are in there at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday after the Saturday injury report. If not, you just want a very quick answer, the rankings are now updated and in the description of this video. Also, live Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time with Brad Evans, plus a Q&A at 10:35 a.m. Eastern Time as a part of that show. Please go check that out. If you're listening to the audio podcast, leave a 5-star rating, all right? Review if you're feeling generous. But let's get into the injuries for Week 5. Actually, before injuries, we do have some weird postponements. So here's what we're dealing with in terms of the schedule. Broncos and Patriots has been moved to Monday evening, and I'm kind of digging these Monday doubleheaders. I'm not going to lie to you. If one game sucks, just tune into the other one. But that's off the main slate for DraftKings as of right now. So that one's going to happen as long as there's no new positive tests. It looks like it's pretty much in the bag. Someone at the Jets potentially tested positive for COVID-19. It does appear like that game is still going to happen on Sunday as of right now. Of course, as we've seen, things can always change. So just be prepared for that. It does appear like it will still happen as a part of Week 5. The bigger one to pay attention to is Tennessee-Buffalo. That's been shifted to Tuesday evening. Now, the Bills-Chiefs game on Thursday night has been shifted to the weekend in Week 6. But if anyone else basically tests positive on the Titans, all of a sudden we're dealing with the situation where that game is no longer on Tuesday and the Thursday night game is back on, and this game will no longer count towards Week 5. So in my rankings, what I've done is I basically downgraded all of the Bills and Titans players solely for the fact is it's not that I hate their matchups, but I do think that the game happens on Tuesday, but if we try to think about it logically, there are some outs here where it doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden, if you're starting Josh Allen or you're starting Derrick Henry, you're now into a situation where you have no one to replace him with. You're just shit out of luck and you have a big 0 in your lineup. So you have to factor that in the face of any other similar option or even slightly lesser option. Probably use the slightly lesser option. I'm not saying bench Derrick Henry for some absolute fucking jabroni that is going to have 2 points. Like at that point, there's no real difference. You're better off holding on to the upside of your good players. But if you have fringy guys like Gabriel Davis or I don't know, even Jonnu Smith, you can probably, although I like Jonnu, you can probably find an equivalent tight end to pick up off the waiver wire at this point and just play them instead. Then you don't have to worry about it. Hopefully we'll know before any of this happens, but chances are we're not going to know because if this happens on Monday, you're fucked. And not only that, you're proper fucked. So just pay attention and think about how much risk you want to take with Titans and Bills players this week. If I had to cap it, I'd say it's probably like a 75% to 80% chance that it happens. And you probably shouldn't worry about it, but there is that other 20 to 25% where it just goes kaput and it's gone and you're stuck with zeros. Just remember that. Injuries themselves. DeSean Jackson, Alshon, Jeffery for the Eagles are out this week. Dallas Goddert is still out. That leaves Greg Ward against the Steelers as wide receiver number 1. Fun times. We'll see how that goes for them. Kareem Hunt is dealing with a groin injury, but it does look like he's going to play. I wouldn't expect a full 90% workload from Kareem Hunt, even 80%. I think it's going to be very much like we saw in the past, with Hunt obviously getting more run than the other 2 running backs, with Nick Chubb out and placed on injured reserve. So I would expect somewhere between 60 and 70% of the snaps, depending on how his groin feels. I mean, that's always a thing that you can tweak, and then all of a sudden you're not playing anymore. If you were looking for backups, I would go with Dearness Johnson over Hilliard if you had to spot start one of those guys. John Brown in that Tuesday game, still dealing with the same calf injury he's been dealing with for the past 2 weeks. He continues to play, so I would expect him to play if they play. On the other side of the ball, Tre'Davious White probably not going to play with this back injury that's kept him out of practice all week, and A.J. Brown from his bone bruise appears like he's going to be back. That's great news for A.J. Brown if this game goes, if there's no Tre'Davious White in this game. I have him listed a bit down in like the lower 30s just because of the game movement and the injury concern as well, because there is no one to pivot off to if he doesn't play. But no Corey Davis, no Adam Humphries, both on the COVID list, so they're not playing at all. So it is a decent spot for A.J. Brown and Jonnu for that matter, and Derrick Henry if the game actually goes. But once again, as I've alluded to, you might want to have some risk management built in with some of these players. Ravens, Hollywood Brown likely to play with this knee injury. Mark Andrews likely to play with his injury, and Lamar Jackson was removed from the injury report on Friday. He will play. In matchups where teams either play man-to-man or they tend to play zone, and it looks like we're going to see some man-to-man from the Bengals on Sunday. That's what they've been doing primarily for the season. Mark Andrews tends to excel in those games where Hollywood Brown tends to take a little bit of a backseat, tends to dominate more against a soft zone where he can get behind the defense with a mental lapse. It's not, you should probably start both of them and all three of these guys, but just in the balance of everything, it does look like Mark Andrews could have a better game here. Calvin Ridley expected to play against Carolina. He's been cleared. Julio is not expected to play. His main fill-in is going to be Rock Me, Dr. Zacchaeus. And he's $3,000 on DraftKings. Shaping up to be pretty popular. It's a decent spot. Look, it's one of the highest total games on the board. You expect a lot of passing. And Zacchaeus is someone that you can kind of plug and play if you have Julio at this point, or even if you have any sort of injury. Just kind of plug him in and hope for the best. Hopefully he doesn't go full Scotty Miller on Thursday night for you. Always a possibility that all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's Christian Blake. Although Dan Quinn has been talking up him and Russell Gage as the primary replacements to Julio Jones to see more work in the passing game. So, take that for what it's worth. I mean, he also says that the Falcons can win games, and he's a big fucking liar about that now, isn't he? Mike Davis might have a larger role than expected. I mean, than he actually had last week. We saw Reggie Bonnafon come in last week and hamburgle away a touchdown from him, and he only ended up playing like 70% of the snaps. Bonnafon has been placed on injured reserve, leaving the primary backups as Trenton Cannons to the left of them. Cannons to the right. He's not good. You probably don't want to play him. And then Arma, who's just basically a fullback, that it looks like Mike Davis will get full run in this game. However, Christian McCaffrey could be back next week. So get your fill of Mike Davis while you can, because this could be the end of him at this point. Jimmy G has been taken off the injury report. He will start against the Miami Dolphins at home in San Francisco in Week 5. Raheem Mostert is also looking like he will play as well, although Kyle Shanahan has said that it's going to depend on how he feels come Sunday morning. The issue with that is going to be that is in the later set of games that you might not know by actual first lineup lock whether he's going to play or not. You're going to have to keep an eye on it. I fully endorse playing Mostert, Colonel Mostert, against the Dolphins, but if you can't go, Jarek becomes like a fringe top 10 option for the week. Deebo Samuel popped up with an illness, non-COVID illness. Same thing that kept Alshon out. He has some sort of illness, non-COVID illness, and there's different types of precautions to go through all this. Listen, I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but it does sound like he is going to play for the second consecutive week, so you can play Deebo against the Dolphins if you like. Shenault has been limited all week in Jags practice with a hamstring injury. There hasn't been a lot of reporting on it as of Friday. However, it's anytime I see hamstring next to anyone's name so far this season, they tend to miss a game. There's no indications that he will or will not at this point, but if you were trying to play Shenault this week, just keep an eye on him on Sunday morning. He could be a very surprise inactive. Wouldn't be a surprise to me because I'm talking about it. But if he ends up being like, oh yeah, all of a sudden he's not playing, don't be super stunned. I would say that Keelan Cole would be the primary fill-in, maybe Mike Conley, but at the same time, you just play Minshew, you play James Robinson, and you play DJ Chark, and probably be on your way from the Jag side of the ball. Steve Sims for the Footballs has been placed on injured reserve, so I guess we'll see more Dontrell Inman with Kyle Allen starting at quarterback over Dwayne Haskins this week. Joe Mixon popped up on the injury report with a shin issue. It still looks like he's going to be fine to play at a Jets camp. If that game still happens on Sunday, Sam Darnold will not be playing either way. Good for him. This is the best he's looked in years sitting on the bench. He's out. Le'Veon Bell should be back. Not 100% sure on that yet. He is in my rankings if you go check it out. Brashad Perriman and Mimsy are both unlikely to play Sunday against the Cardinals, which could leave Jeff Smith as a decent option with Joe Flacco playing. It seems like he's past Chris Hogan at this point. So you have Jamison Crowder, you have Jeff Smith, and Chris Hogan on the outside. It's not looking great in Jets land, but Jeff Smith would be my preferred option instead of Chris Hogan. He's at least looked better than Hogan has in some time. Henry Ruggs expected to play against the Chiefs. Bryan Edwards unlikely to play, so Ruggs for the first time since week 1 should be at full go. Not a great matchup against the Chiefs and how good they've been against the deep ball, but he has so much speed that if he's 100% and they're playing catch up for most of this game, he is a potential DraftKings option to look for as a big play specialist. Or if you're a huge dog in your matchup in season-long fantasy football, and you just need to take a home run cut, Ruggs is the type of player who could produce huge or produce absolutely nothing. There's not a huge in-between level for someone like Henry Ruggs here. Carlos Hyde should be back in the Sunday night game as the backup to Chris Carson. KJ Hamler is out for the Monday night game for the Broncos. Phillip Lindsay should return, however. And the big one here, and I don't quite know exactly how these rules work, but I was reading a little bit into it, and apparently if Cam Newton can test negative for COVID-19 on Saturday and Sunday, there's a chance he could play on Monday. I don't know if that's true or not. This is just what I've been seeing on the internet. So pay more attention to that. Find someone better than me who knows this sort of information. That'd probably be my advice on it. I'll update it in the rankings column as it goes forward if it does look like he's trending towards playing, if he has that first negative test and maybe he can get back in. So he's not completely off the table for week 5 is all I'm saying. He's unlikely to play, but there's a chance. In the other Monday night game, Michael Thomas is expected to return for the Saints. No confirmation on that yet. Mike Williams has yet to practice all week, but they're still hoping he can be a game-time decision. I wouldn't be relying on Mike Williams, but Jaylen Guyton would be the primary replacement for Mike Williams. He's been playing the last 2 weeks for the Chargers on the outside. Austin Ekeler has now been moved to the injured reserve, and he will be out until at least week 8. Josh Kelly, Justin Jackson is how we're going with this in the Chargers backfield. Although if that randomly flipped on its head and no one saw it coming, wouldn't be super stunned by that. Just with Jackson potentially being as 8-point underdogs, if he somehow plays like the receiving back role, this could be a pure 50-50 snap split, and he would be the one getting the more valuable touches if he's the one in the receiving game. I have Kelly ranked over Jackson, obviously, because that's the only prudent move to do. Logic dictates that based on what we've seen this season, but there's always changing circumstances when a running back comes out. And it was Jackson's first week back from a quad injury. Maybe he's fully healthy now, and stuff changes. He has been with that team a little bit longer, so we'll see how that plays itself out. DraftKings ownership for the week at the high end at each position. This is just for the main slate only. We've seen so many moving parts with games taken off the slate. Even when you look at the boards that we're going to be putting up on Sunday, a lot of postponed or pushed next to a lot of the stuff, but the ownership is concentrating at running back really realistically around 3 guys. 1, Mike Davis. 2, Ezekiel Elliott, because he's the only guy left in the $7,000 level, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the upper 6s. I like James Robinson as the pivot off of Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this spot, but all 3 of those guys are good plays. You can see why the ownership is crystallizing around them. Antonio Gibson, especially with Chase Young potentially back this week, maybe more competitive in this game than you may think against the Rams. The Rams have a terrible run defense. At $5,000, he could be a nice down play. It's not like he has no ownership, but he's not like super chalky like a lot of the rest of these guys. Wide receiver, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, Tyreek Hill, and Darius Slayton look like they're going to be the big 4 this week in terms of ownership. And once again, if you're looking for cornerback, wide receiver matchups, or the updated ownership projections, which get updated all the way up until, I believe, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, it's all up at FTNDaily.com. Kyle Murray ends up doing all of the projections, updates them in real time, and if you use code Mayo, you get yourself a discount. You get access to those ownership projections along with the optimizer and all the projections and all the cool tools that are up there right now. At tight end, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Evan Ingram. 1, 2, 3. That's where people are going this week on DraftKings. At quarterback, Dak, Mahomes, and Watson. As Elliott pointed out on the DraftKings show on Thursday, that Carolina and Atlanta game might be the spot where you want to go to. Although people seem a bit pensive about Daniel Jones now. He is the highest owned of the lower end quarterbacks, but not quite as high owned as I thought he would be coming into the week. At defense, only the Texans and Ravens actually project out over 10%. I like the Niners defense the more I thought about it. They're a bit expensive. But I think it's a spot you could go. The Browns would be like kind of the other pay down. Browns and Jags would be sort of the cheaper defenses. I think you could go with that. Should tread enough water and potentially just going up. The Colts are dealing with offensive line issues, and the Browns actually do generate good pressure. And I know they're underdogs in this game. If they can jump out to a lead, then you're playing Phillip Rivers, and all of a sudden it's glorious news if you have a fantasy defense. And just Deshaun Watson takes so many sacks that there is a base built in for the Jags here. Even if they do nothing else, maybe they can score like 6-7 points, and they're cheap enough that it allows you access to the top of a lot of other positions. If you want my DraftKings cheat sheet, it's up on dkplaybook.com. For the rest of the content for the week, check out the description of this video. It's where you find the Listeners League link, all the links to the FTN Daily and FTM Bets, all the links to the rankings, the Listeners League. Everything is down there. Just hit the description. Smash a like on the way out, too. I'm Pat Mayo. Leave your questions in the comment section. I will answer them on Sunday, and that'll do it for me. Have a good weekend. We'll see you Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, live with Brad Evans, then taking your questions. But until then, be well. I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience. Experience.